Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Past the Barb. Today is Tuesday, April 4th, and it is a two-man podcast tonight, kind of a unique situation. It is myself, your host, Adam Bartusek, and joining me is Mr. Ryan Pinkalla.
Yeah, we're playing with a short bench tonight. It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get through this one, and we're gonna have a good time. The other boys, they're gonna regret that they weren't here.
Yeah, we're playing Russian roulette with Pinkalla's mic basically tonight. So if all of a sudden he cuts out, we're just gonna have Adam filler time.
I'm gonna be 100% honest. I was just on another podcast right before this, and mic situation, absolute war zone. Okay, so major apologies to that guy, but we still had a good time.
Yep, for sure. So we're just we're gonna get diving into everything. If you're kind of new to the show or just been getting here, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever it is. Reviews help a ton with podcasts. So we would really appreciate if you're one of our loyal listeners who listen every week. If all there's 200, 300 of you that download it right away. If all you guys went and left a very nice review, it would help us a ton. We love doing this. We want to keep rolling with it, but
we're growing too. Feedback. It's getting bigger. Past the Barb to the moon, baby.
Yeah, we want this to keep getting bigger so we can get we'll get some more sponsors and everything on board. For all of you who've watched the Chronicles, you've seen that evolve over 3 years. With this cast of characters we have in here, there's no telling what we could do with Past the Barb content-wise and everything. Could be really cool. We just need the backing. So if you guys kind of help us be that foundation, we'd appreciate it a ton.
Sweet.
Yeah, sweet. So, we're going to roll into current events right away. And I think I made a post on this last night, and it's crazy because Ryan and I have been pretty close. Before this happened, we were fairly close, but we've gotten really close since I lost my job, my corporate job 3 years ago yesterday.
And tell people, what were you doing before?
Yeah. So for people who don't know, I was working sales for Citywide. That's the company that, if anybody knows Joel Willert or Greg Mansfield, they fished the Opens for a while, but they both worked there. Joel helped me get a job there. Greg owned the company, and he gave me an opportunity right out of college, and that's what it did. For 3 years out of college, I was running the Southern sales division. It was honestly great. I loved it. I had a lot of leniency with getting out of work and going to fish tournaments since Greg was a tournament fisherman and owned the company. But when COVID hit, it's actually kind of funny, Pink, because when COVID hit, I'm gonna be honest. At first, I was like, I'm gonna make a shitload of money.
Yeah,
because I sold Citywide was janitorial contracts. So all the Alina Health, a lot of medical facilities, just office spaces where people work.
So it was commission, right? You were getting?
Yeah. So I had a base salary, but then I was getting commission as well.
Yep.
So where people worked, your trash magically vanishes at night. That's because a crew comes in and picks it up at night, cleans your toilets and all that stuff. So I was selling that contract. So when COVID hit, I was like, everybody's going to have to clean 5-10 times a week. This is going to be unreal. And then all of a sudden they were like, everybody's working from home. And I was like, oh boy, that's
panic button engaged.
Yeah. Literally kind of my old boss, Tyler, and I would always talk about the great thing about this job is it's recession proof because literally because everybody's got to go to work.
Yeah.
And then that hit and we were like, whoo,
surprise,
surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So anyways, that hit. And I was there for about a month, and it was a crazy month and a half when that first started happening because I was because of being in cleaning too, when that hit, I was one of the earlier people to kind of know that this was showing up and going to be a problem. Sure. Because when there was 50 cases or 20 cases, one of our clinics, we get the call of this happened.
Right. And then we're affecting you directly.
And you're do you hazmat clean it? What do you do? Nobody knows how to clean it. So
Right.
then you're like, nobody knows what to do. So you're trying to figure that out on the fly, working with the CDC and everything. So it's like, it was a really weird first month and a half. But anyways, once everybody went home and we were working from home for 2 to 4 weeks, I got the call that, you know, they were going to, because of everything going on, they were going to have to let me go, which I understood because I had like 3 other guys on my team. And they all had young families. Like one of them was about to have a kid. Another one just had a kid. And I'm like, dude, I'm a bass fisherman. I got nothing, like, except my boat. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, expenses are fairly minimal. And you're like, well, I mean, I could take the hit, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, still freaky. Like you're like, oh my God, it's the middle of a pandemic and I just lost my job. What am I gonna do?
And like, how much notice do you have when they're like, yo, we're pulling the plug?
That Friday. I had no idea until that
so it was
day.
like almost immediate.
Yeah, it was basically immediate that they had to do it. Which is, you know, that you get fired. Like that's kind of the way that happens. You know, you don't really get a 2-week notice. But yeah, I'll never forget driving home that day. Like I was very emotional because I was like, oh my God, this is the first job I've ever like gotten fired from. And like, obviously I still knew it wasn't my problem, but then I was like, how the hell am I going to pay for this? I had just bought my Triton.
Right.
So I had this brand new awesome boat. I'm like, how am I going to pay for that? How am I going to pay for this truck? I'm going to be bankrupt in like 3 months. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a weird spot to be in, especially it's not like you got fired because you sucked at your job. It was like just kind of a crappy situation that kind of just fell in your lap, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So then basically I got home, hung out with Jake for a little bit. And then I was like, I think I was texting Jay Siemens about something else that day. And I just happened to mention to Jay, your mic just cut out, so he'll be back in a bit. But I had just mentioned to Jay, like, oh, I lost my job or whatever. And Jay basically called me immediately, and I will forever owe Jay Siemens.
Him ahead of time, right? Like this wasn't like he just was like, oh, look at this guy.
Yeah, no. I knew Jay for a while. Like him and I had gotten beers before when he'd been in the cities, and he had just, you know, started doing his wedding photography a few years earlier.
Right.
But yeah, like I was just talking to him, and that was back when I think he had basically just started going full-time YouTube at that time. He was only 30,000 subs.
So that was like right after kind of uncut angling and everything.
Yeah, he had gone
because this is 2020, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So he had just I mean, he was doing his own thing, but he had just started getting back into the fishing and YouTube thing, you know. And Pink's mic cut out again. But anyways, basically that conversation I'll forever owe Jay, because he talked to me, and like something I'll never forget is he told me, what's the worst that's gonna happen? It doesn't work, you'll just get another job. And that stuck with me. I mean, it's stuck with me for like 3 years now. You know,
I think that's great advice too, but it's just one of those things. Like, I think everyone knows that it's good advice. Like this whole, like, you got to take the leap, right? Or like, give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? But it's like, that's still like, I think for you, it worked out good because it was like, you didn't have another option, really.
Yeah, no,
you know,
to be completely honest for everybody out there, like without COVID, there's no The Crappie Chronicles. There's
you wouldn't have left your
anything.
job to do that.
No, I was ice fishing a little bit after the Team Yukon Outdoors stuff, but like I'd kind of hit a big pause on ice fishing, and I was solely focused on bass fishing. And in the winters, I just worked and hung out at home.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy. I know there's a lot of people that like want to do stuff like that, but it's like to mentally be like, dude, I'm just gonna give up what I got, guaranteed money to just try. Like that's tough, dude, to wrap your mind around.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it was a huge leap. There's a bunch of people at the beginning who, I mean, helped me out, like Chad Smith, Carl Jochimson, Jeff Gustafson, Scott Bonamo with the Champions Tour, Matt Boyd, like
so when you kind of you lose your job, you kind of have this thing where you're like, screw it, dude, I'm going for it. What's your first like paid gig?
So basically what I did then was, I mean, everyone knows when COVID hit, like there was a bunch of good unemployment money. So basically what I did was I didn't do anything for like 2 or 3 months. I basically hung out at home. When I would get that unemployment, I'd like buy a camera, mess around with the camera at home. You and I took that trip up to northern Wisconsin.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
like
was
that
like
was messing
springtime.
with the camera and like just figuring things out. I watched a ton of YouTube videos. That's actually something like I want to get back more into. It's been on my agenda, is getting back into watching more like Final Cut tutorial
Just
videos
like
or photo
learning.
tutorials.
Like
Yeah.
learning. Yeah.
Like, dude, I fully immersed myself in like what I was going to have to learn. And as you start going down that rabbit hole, you learn like it's not, I don't know, maybe my brain's wired a little bit differently too. I do think, humbly speaking, that's probably part of it as well. Like, I think I'm fairly good at what I do now.
Well, but I would say before that, you definitely didn't edit like that before.
No, I didn't have the
So.
technical skills, but I had the creative brain.
Sure. Yeah, that's
You
fair.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like I could see something and then I was like, well, how do I make this happen? Like I remember multiple times sitting at my computer for an hour just Googling something I saw happen in a video, trying
like
to
how to create an
explain it.
effect or something.
Yeah, trying to explain it into Google, and Google being like sending
Good
me
job, bro.
all the wrong things. And I'm like, no, I just want this smoke. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to blow something up. That's not.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for thermite or whatever it is. Videos of someone shooting a gun into a barrel. But anyways, yeah, it was that was a long way of me saying. So I stayed at home, did a bunch of different gigs, and honestly, like, dude, one of my first paying gigs, and it wasn't even me getting paid. Frank Ragnow, so center for the Lions. He is buddies with Doug Wegner and Jesse Baker. And I had been talking to Doug and Jesse because at the time Jesse lived in Green Bay.
And
with
he's a big fisherman, right? Frank.
Yes, and Frank's a huge fisherman.
Yeah.
But I was talking to them and I was like, hey, like I don't got much going on. Like I need to get out of the house. I've been home for 3 weeks. Like I'd like to go somewhere for a few days and fish. I'd love to come to Door County. And they were like, yeah, you can stay at our place, So I was heading out there and then Frank hit me up and like, dude, like God bless Frank. Like he's anybody who knows Frank, he's an unbelievable guy. And he had heard everything that had happened and he had watched TYO stuff back in the day and was big friends with Jesse and Doug. And he had he had NFL money. And he had kind of basically he bought me a drone and some mics that like I couldn't afford. And he was like, how about in exchange you film me a couple of Grizzly Man Outdoors videos? So I did that for him. And that was technically probably my first paid gig. It was just an exchange of goods.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got to start somewhere, dude.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is that's still the mics I used to film the Champions Tour and the drone I used to film the Crappie Chronicles today. So thank you, Frank Ragnow, for that. But then after that, I still don't think I ever got paid for it, but I did. I did.
Not salty though.
No, no, I didn't. I never wanted to get paid for it. I went and followed Carl Jochimson on the Elite Series down in Alabama once they kicked back off on Eufaula. Because Jay had kind of ingrained in my brain the power of free work. He's like, if you're getting unemployment, get unemployment for a bit and do free work. So then I went to Carl, and basically my first paid gig ended up being 2.5, 3 months later. And it was Matt Voigt with the South Metro Bass Circuit. I filmed them like a little promo video.
So you're shooting tournament fishing.
Yeah. And then I was hired to film Scott Bonema, the Champions Tour. That was like the big thing. And then I think I was doing a couple smaller things for like Clam. Matt Johnson helped me out a ton. And then like a couple odds and end projects. Like I filmed a video for the New Prague Historical Society. I took some senior photos, like
basically just saying yes to everything.
I said yes to literally anything and everything.
Okay, that's fair. And I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, you had no idea where you were going. So you're just kind of like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to kind of come full circle on it, like last night I was going to make the post about like, oh my God, it's only been 3 years because it feels like a fucking lifetime, dude.
Like you've been
Like,
doing it forever. Yeah.
well, like I've been to like 20 states. I've been to more than that, actually. God, I would actually love to count up how many. It's probably been closer to 30. Um, filming and driving around the country and just all this stuff. And I was going through all these photos because Instagram only gives you 10 photos. And I'm like trying to pick all these different events and things I did.
Yeah.
And dude, like I couldn't.
Isn't that nuts? You start scroll like I feel like everybody's that way. You start scrolling through like your photos on your phone. I mean, maybe not every most people probably delete stuff, but like if I scroll back just for like 1 year, just like see what you did this year, you scroll back to a trip and you're like, holy shit, that was this year?
Yeah. Dude, yeah, exactly.
You know?
Like I was scrolling back and like all of a sudden I was like, Hahner and I were filming Chasing Ghosts like less
Isn't
than a
that
year ago.
nuts, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like scrolling back through all that, and I was just like, dude, over 3 years, like if you would have told me back when I decided to do that, I'd be doing what I am now, I would not believe you.
You'd be like,
Not
good
for 1
joke.
second.
And like you're only 3 years in. Like, can you imagine, you know, in 10 years when you look back and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And that's like honestly, like last night making that post, it like got me excited because I was like,
Yeah.
that was 3 years of like insanely hard work. And not to say these next 3 years won't be like once you kind of do the grind, you get addicted to it. But it's just, dude, the possibilities are endless. And like it's got me hyped for whatever might happen ice fishing, whatever might happen open water, just whatever it might be. I think the biggest thing I learned is, you know, no idea is too small. And it's just crazy. Like my mom used to always tell me, and like seeing what I'm doing now, and then we'll skip on because we're rolling on this. But my mom used to always tell me, like when I was a kid, I'd always have these like grand ideas or crazy ideas, like big adventures and things I wanted to do. And they were always trying to mellow me out a little bit on it because I just had this storyteller brain. And
this whole like, hey, just be realistic, right? Yeah.
And now that, you know, we're 3 years past, like like this winter when we get back from Maine and stuff, like my mom looks at me and, you know, they're just like, you know, we always knew you could do this, but like seeing that that's what your brain, you know, was thinking of and like could make happen, like it's crazy to actually see it. Then it's even crazy for me to see it. I mean, crazy for you to see it, everything. Like you popped in on the Chronicles like 2 years ago and then you're cooking lobster in Maine.
Yeah, and like selling a fucking cookbook and stuff. Like it's nuts,
selling a fucking cookbook on Amazon. Like what?
But like, yeah, no, I agree. Like stuff snowballs really quick, and I think that's like something for a lot of people. You know, it's like it's not something you just looked at and you're like, I know exactly where this is going. It's just like stuff builds and like it gets wild, and you just got to ride it out and keep the momentum when you got it. You know.
Yeah. And I think it's like it snowballs fast, but like we were even talking about with this podcast before, like when you look back, it seems like it happened fast, but when you're in the moment, it takes time.
Well, and to be fully honest,
very important.
Everything we're doing, everything you've accomplished in the years you've been doing this so far, it's like you grind your ass off. Like none of this is super easy. It's like it takes a lot of time. It's like it's not just super easy, like, oh yeah, you just film this and everyone watches it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, exactly. Yeah.
So,
no, and I got lucky too. You
gotta trust the process, right?
First thing I throw out on YouTube went mega viral. Like,
yeah, nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. You get lucky. But yeah, anyways, that post was yesterday. And it was just, it was crazy to look at and be like, that was only 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's growing. Like it's not like you're sitting here going, "Man, I hope I can keep doing this." You know?
Yeah,
it's like you already know you're doing it.
Yeah, and it feels like by year 3 now it feels like you're like, oh, okay, like I'm good. Like this all
because stuff comes easier once you're established in anything you do. It's like all of a sudden you've been doing it a while and you're like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. But no, so that was big for me current event wise. But yeah, other than that, our giant snowstorm from last week all melted.
Yeah, and it's dumping rain right now as we're recording this. Like I'm watching lightning out the window.
It is not lightning at my place, but
yeah. Well, we're a couple miles apart here.
Yeah, but like I was telling you the other day, so for people that don't know, I'm back at my parents. My parents own like 10 to 15 acres down in the New Prague area, but in their backyard's a giant marshland, and I don't hunt, but I always have been pushing for them. I'm like, hey, I have friends who hunt, and there is a shitload of birds here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of turkeys, there's deer that roll through everything, and this year is the first year they're like, yeah, like let Pink come out and do it. So I've been sending them videos like yesterday or like 3 days ago. I sent you a Snapchat of like flocks of geese rolling in.
And it's funny because like you got me in like a group text with your parents last year. And it was super funny because like they literally had no idea who I was. And I was like texting your mom, like, hey, let me know when the turkeys are there and shit. And it was funny because like she would send me like pictures of like one just like standing in the yard and stuff. And the way that their property sets up is funny because it's like the house is kind of like in the middle, right? So it's not like it's like in the front and then there's all this land behind. It's kind of like positioned in the center. And then the whole back you can literally see like from the deck. Right. So I remember the one day I went there to like check it out because your dad was like, yeah, if you want to come try hunting or whatever, like, knock yourself out. And I think I told him I wanted to just come. I think I was there for a party one time, like a couple of years ago. But
like the first time we met, like 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, I went to some beer bash at your house and everyone was like,
oh, his mic cut out. But yeah, he showed up to party at my place. It was like one of my first summers back from college that I wasn't doing a practicum somewhere. So I had a bunch of friends over and we were drinking a ton of beers outside. Then him and Bo Brower just ended up chatting about pike fishing for like 4 hours.
Like it was right before like a tournament or something. Is that seem right?
I think it was right before the old
it was like on Cedar Lake.
I don't remember what the name of the circuit was now.
Because I
it was the first
somebody else.
Yeah, it was the first circuit Sobe and I ever fished, but there was like a Saturday tournament out on Cedar. It was like 20 boats, bunch of kids, half of the rigs are walleye boats. I was running my Green Ranger at the time, and we were all fishing the tournament the next day, or maybe had fished it the day before. I don't even remember.
Yeah, and I didn't really know barely anyone that was there. I was friends with Sam, and Connor and whatever. So
he cut out again. He'll roll into this in a sec. But yeah, I ended up meeting Pink through Sobe because he went to college out at Stevens Point with Sobe and Connor. But yeah, the Cedar Lake tournament, it went pretty well. I ended up taking third, I think.
Yeah, I did not. I think we got like 12th or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, besides the point. So that was the first time I was ever there. And there was definitely no like, hey, you like, let's look at this for like hunting. Like it was like middle of summer, right? But anyway, so your dad, like I go there and it was funny because like your dad is like a super nice guy, but he was like so unimpressed with me, dude. Like I showed up.
Well, my dad doesn't like hunt or anything. It's just more of you were disturbing his time.
I know. So I got there and I was like super uncomfortable. So I was like, I was just going there to like scout it because I just wanted to see what the deal was. And they said they had some turkeys walking around or whatever. And then he's like, so what, you just want to like look around? And I was like, I mean, kind of, yeah. So like I think he took me like in the house and like we went on the deck and he's just like pointing at stuff and he's like, yeah, knock yourself out if you want to go back. So I went stomping around and looking at some stuff. And I think it was in the spring because there was like a ton of geese back there. Like it was insane. Like they were all nesting or whatever. But the turkeys were showing up and that was kind of what I was like, oh, I check this out for turkey hunting maybe. And I just never came together where like they were consistently coming there and I had time to be there. So I was kind of bummed, but I'm hoping like I can make it work this time or at least try it because there's a bunch there. Like, I mean, you sent me that snap the other day, like they're around and there's a pretty big wood block like on the neighbors or whatever. So it's an interesting property just because like legit, no matter what you're hunting and like you could hunt geese there, like totally legal and the whole thing. There's like a couple ponds. It's really cool. But it's, I mean, like, I'm talking right behind the house. So, like, somebody could literally just be, like, chilling, drinking their coffee, like, watching out the window. like everything going down.
Yeah, and then my joke was in the fall, as long as we have water in that pond and we keep the grass a little lower, it doesn't get too grown up. Like my joke to my dad was, I was like, yeah, whatever day he comes out, I'll let you know. You wake up at 5:30 and just go sit on the deck and you get to watch them all die because he hates those things.
Yeah.
God, he hates those geese.
And it is a cool spot, I think, because like I probably just got to get in there and maybe like mow a little bit throughout the summer to keep that grass down, and the geese are they're gonna use it, dude. But I think we're only gonna get one shoot out of it, and those geese are gonna be like, fuck this place. Yeah. So it'll be one hell of a shoot, but we'll get one out of it because they do like that area back there, man.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see if it's only one shoot or more, just because I know how many stop on Cedar and like the sewage plant and everything on the way down. So it could be really cool.
Yeah, I think it maybe this spring I'll try a turkey thing, but for sure in the fall it's going to be at least we got to give it one honest effort to try to blast some of those geese out of there because there's a ton of them.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. And the whole back thing, that whole marsh field is flooded right now. Like it's just a giant pond, and there are birds everywhere.
I wish you could goose hunt in the spring, dude, because they are stacked in there.
Yeah, and I think honestly you could shoot, and then the next day they just come back because they're like, I want to nest here.
Dude, the day I walked down there was a ton of them, and they were like on nest. So there's, I shit you not, like not a big area. And there is 20 to 30 nesting pairs in this thing. So there's 50, 60 geese down there. And they're just like every little bush has one on a nest, one on a nest. So you're walking down there and they don't care. They're just sitting there just hissing at you because you're like 5 feet away and they're not having it. So they're like trying to kill you because you're like stealing their eggs or something. And I'm like, chill, bro. Like it's all good. And I'm like walking by and these geese are like hiding in the weeds, just like sticking their neck out like, and I'm like, damn. But yeah, it's crazy, dude. It's kind of like this little backyard honey hole, to be honest. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, it should be cool. Hopefully it ends up working out. But yeah, other than that, everything's melted off, and yeah, just getting ready to head down south. What do you got going on?
So right now, kind of in the mix of trying to plan a couple of trips. So I'm hoping to do some spring fishing trips right now. So just kind of looking at options for that. And I know we talked about this before, but it's like this weird time of year where you're kind of like between everything. And so it's like, yeah, you kind of put the ice fishing stuff away. There's like, you can't open water fish barely other than on the river. And like, that's not really popping off yet, at least for the stuff that I like to do. So anyway, I'm just kind of like looking forward and got some Wisconsin trips planned, I think. So I'll be messing around over there a bit, little crappie fishing, little walleye fishing. And then
I should add, if anybody's going to fish the river here, because here's the deal. It's supposed to be like 60, 70 coming up.
Yep.
And the river's going up. I'm just going to tell everybody the river is fairly safe to navigate at most times a year. Everybody's worried about hitting stuff. However, I'm going to put a big warning on this spring because it has not flooded hard in about 2 to 3 years. We've had a lot of storms rip through the areas the last few years, and there is going to be a metric shitload of trees floating down the Mississippi River as the water rises. So watch the water levels. Once it gets up and it like stops, then it's probably going to be okay. But as long as it keeps rising, dude, there's going to be a lot of shit floating down that river.
Yeah, and that's for everything over here. I mean, any river system, because I mean the Mississippi obviously is like it can take some water, but some of these Minnesota river systems and everything down from, I don't know, everything south of Lock and Dam 2 all the way to freaking Iowa basically is looking like it might flood. So it's going to be probably a sketchy spring, like you said, a lot of wood and a lot of that stuff. I mean, some of it's been dead a while, and those are those weird ones that float like just under the surface too, like not the bobber ones that are easy to see. So gotta be careful out there, no doubt. But yeah, I've been seeing a lot more people posting that they've been fishing the river, a lot of walleyes getting caught. I did see that lower end of Lake Pepin still ice.
It is. So, you did see?
Yeah, I looked on the that NASA Worldview thing, which gives like daily. I don't know. Are you familiar with that? So there's
I look at it every once in a while, but I was talking to Hayden the other day and I told him with the wind and stuff we got over the weekend and everything, I was like, dude, I'd be shocked if there's still ice down there.
yeah, so like Lake City down to where it next down in the channel was still ice.
Okay. Well,
And
that'll be gone, but
yeah,
in a
and the
week.
cool thing, I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen that they were running those, barges down through there and they were busting up ice or whatever. You can see that on the satellite image, which is pretty dope.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that every spring, but
Yeah.
normally when they do it, like the week or two after, it's open. And this
Yeah, it
year it
is
just
not.
never did.
I think
Well, and
that it's just got a lot. It's thick ice, but
thick. Well, the ice wasn't. They do Lake Pepin ice measurements, and I was watching it in February, and I think I even sent you guys pictures. I was like, there is not a lot of ice on Pepin. It
well,
was like 16 to 18 inches, but with the water not coming up, it never because the water didn't start coming up until about now, even
sure.
with how much melt off we've had and everything. So I think it never pulled the ice from the shores.
Mhm.
Because once it pulls the ice from the shore, that stuff's gone. Like it
Yeah.
gets flushed out so quick.
Yeah, and I think this rain should help a ton with like eating that and everything because it's pouring pretty hard, or was today. But yeah. Anyway, as of whatever yesterday, there was still ice from Lake City down. But um, yeah, there's going to be good fishing. I mean, I know people have been pounding walleyes in the upper section and everything up in two. So like they're there, they're getting caught. So fishing's only going to get better. But yeah, I mean, I work obviously out in the West Metro, and I've been driving over to Minnesota every day, and it just keeps getting higher, dude. The past 5 days just keeps going up.
Yeah, I looked at the river level report too, and it looks like it's as far as they can forecast, it's going to keep going up. So
Yeah,
we
and we
get a
need it too.
big Minnesota River flood, and
Yeah,
we need it bad.
as much as flooding's like kind of bad or sketchy or whatever. I mean, at least around here, there's not a lot of stuff in the River Valley floodplain, so it's not like people's houses are getting flooded out. I mean, this is just like woods going underwater, so it's not that big of a deal as far as like damage wise. But for a lot of the backwater fishing and stuff, it's if it connects and flushes out, it's gonna be wild this year, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it should make it good all the way around. So, yeah, a lot of floods coming. I know as we're talking about rain, northern Minnesota is getting another like 9 to 20 inches of snow currently.
See, that's the crazy part that I don't think a lot of people think about with the flooding stuff. It's like down here, they're like, oh, there's not that much snow left. Like, how bad is it going to get? But we get all that water up there.
Yeah, it
It
all
comes
goes
here.
into the Mississippi River. It all goes into the Mississippi River floodplain.
Yeah.
All
So
of it.
it's crazy, but all that compounds together. And then when we get these rains down here, and depending on how much water letting through those dams, it can change pretty damn quick.
Yeah, yeah. So we got. I think Griff was telling me he was talking to his buddy in Cloquet, and he said he has legitimately 4 to 5 feet of snow in his front yard currently.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and I was like, well, it's all coming one way, and
Yeah,
we're
right
gonna get
through our yard.
yeah, we're gonna get a warm up next week. I don't think it's supposed to be as warm up there, but it's gonna start melting, and she's gonna come hauling down the river. So this might be a spring like 3 or 4 years ago where that thing is just high and flooded for literally like a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like personally, I don't really care as long as people's houses aren't getting affected, which typically they don't. But
yeah, and like flooding
makes,
sucks if it's bad, but like
God, it makes the fishing good.
Dude, it really does.
Dude, if the water's high for this St. Jude this year, like if
Yeah.
it's above 12 feet, like if you look at the Wabasha water level and it says it's above at like 12 feet, 12 feet and up until they can still launch boats and run it, the weights will be egregious.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, the past 5 days, the water level on the Minnesota River, and this is at like Shakopee, okay? But that level has come up, I would say, over 10 feet in the past 5 days.
Yeah, I drove over it
Easily.
today coming back from the cities, drove by it in Shakopee just on the main bridge there, and it's 3 feet from going over the edges. So it's going to happen in the next week.
Man. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully it's a wet spring, dude. I mean, we need the water, and lakes are filling up fast. So it's going to be, it'll help. Everything helps.
Yeah. I think I saw, or Griff told me, I don't know how accurate this is, but Griff told me that they weren't planning on opening the Minnetonka dam until after
on Minnehaha
June.
Creek.
Yeah, whatever it is, but they're not planning on opening it because they want to fill the lake back up. But there's plenty of runoff hitting it. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. No, that's all good. So we'll kind of monitor that. I mean, I don't know how many. A lot of our people live in Minnesota that are listening to this, but those that don't, there's your river update right there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's gonna
Anyway,
be high and muddy.
she brown right now. Tell you that. But yeah, so
tie on a spinner bait.
yeah. But yeah, so I'm hoping to get to Wisconsin over like probably May mostly, but April's kind of, I don't know, a weird month because it's like if you get the right weather, you can go do stuff. But other than that, it's just kind of whatever. So
I think we're gonna have lakes open up in the next week and a half around here.
I think so. Like because the ice is deteriorating quick. This rain, I mean, it just eats it because the ice is soft right now. So it's like it doesn't take a lot to destroy it quick. Which I think is good. I mean, a lot of lakes that were close to winter kill this year too, once they get open, it's like they get that oxygen, start mixing again with the wind and everything is good for them. So
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so you're getting spring fishing trips planned.
Yeah, and then like the turkey season opens next week. So like coming real fast. Opens next Wednesday. And be going pretty hard in that this year just because can't go fishing or anything right now. So probably spend some solid time there. And our season in Minnesota goes from basically next Wednesday through the end of May. So it's like you have a pretty long season. I'll be archery hunting, but I mean, you can hunt with a shotgun too. It's totally legal. So be messing with that. So I'll probably have some stories from that and get out in the field. It'd be nice to go chase some critters around with a tag in my pocket and try to get it done.
Is there any other spring hunting season or is it just turkeys?
In Minnesota, there is not, but in other states, the other kind of big spring thing is bear hunting. So some of the Western states have.
Oh, he just cut out. So if you guys did not know, I am not the biggest hunter in the world. I actually have never been. Pink and I have talked about at one point me coming out west to film something with him because I think it would be a cool experience to go do, but it is something I have never done.
Yeah, and I think we'll line that up eventually, like go out and kind of just get the experience. But yeah, so anyway, I was saying spring bear is kind of the other thing, and we don't have that here, but some Western states do. Some don't, but that's a pretty popular spring hunting activity. So yeah, other than that, I mean, pretty much all the animals are making babes in the spring. So a lot of that stuff, early, that's when they're having the babies, I guess. They'll smash in the fall mostly. But yeah, so that's kind of like a closed season for a lot of stuff. But
gotcha. So you got your turkeys. Yeah, other than that, for me, just prepping to go south. Got a few Toyota Series events down on Kentucky Barkley, which I am pretty hyped about. You fished Kentucky back in the day in the College Series, didn't you? Oh, he's cut out right now. So he'll be back in a sec, but I get to go to Kentucky Barkley, and then immediately after I go to Chickamauga. So I get to spend 2 heavenly weeks on the Tennessee River. Arguably, probably one of the best times to do it, April. Nice. So I'm pretty excited. Hopefully break a PB.
Yeah, I haven't fished Chick, but I did fish Kentucky Lake. We had a college, it was like one of those big bass bash tournaments. So it was like a big fish only kind of thing. So it wasn't like a 5-bag thing. There was like, I want to say like 8 weigh-ins throughout the day or something. So it was like you could catch a fish and like weigh it in at any of these weigh-ins kind of thing. It's kind of badass. It was like a couple hundred boats probably. And yeah, we ripped down there. That one, it launched out of like Paris.
Yep. Yeah. And, so bottom end of the lake.
Yeah. So that was cool. And that was the first time I was ever there. So that was like a big learning experience. We did catch some pretty nice fish in that one, but we didn't win or anything. But that was sick. That was like my first time going down south, hucking an A rig around and catching some fish. So that was pretty badass.
Yeah, I am pumped, and I'm very intrigued to see what Kentucky is like now, because everybody knows about the Asian carp that hit it. Mm-hmm. It got really affected by that, and then also kind of the more research I've done heading into this tournament, it sounds like there was a combo factor of that, And then there was like 5 years in a row where there was really bad spawns. So all of a sudden you combo that with the carp invasion, and all of a sudden the lake, like, it didn't die out, but it really changed. From what I've heard, there is a ton of smallmouth in there now.
Really?
Like more than largemouth.
Interesting.
Like a lot more. So I am very intrigued. It's still southern smallmouth, so they act different. However, these are Tennessee River fish, so they're at least somewhat predictable in the sense of current. So it should be cool. I'm really excited. Like I said, dude, like TVA April, fish are they haven't quite hit the beds yet. They're about to. You're gonna have a spawn-a-thon, pre-spawn, some post-spawn. There's just gonna be big fish in a lot of places, and I'm excited for that. Like, especially after 2 grimy events on Grand, and then one of my other last opens was Smith Lake in the fall with a 15-inch size limit on spots. Which, if anyone's been to Smith Lake, you can catch 100 fish a day, and 98 of them will be 14 3/4-inch spots.
Yeah, that sucks.
I'm very excited to go to the TVA.
I think it's fun. It's cool for guys up here too, because I mean, granted, you can do some of the same techniques, but like those southern fisheries are just so much different, than like what we have here.
Yeah, and it's a huge learning curve. I mean, that's my biggest thing going into it is, I mean, obviously I'd like to do well and qualify for a championship and win some money. That's everybody's goal. But if you have that in your brain that you're going to do that immediately, especially being from the north, I think you kind of set yourself up for failure. There aren't many guys from the north who went and did it. Like, even Fighter talks about, he fished the FLW Tour for 2 years back in the day. I don't think he ever finished above 100th from what I've heard.
Yeah.
And he came back home, fished for a while, went and did the opens, made the Elite Series. But it's a huge learning curve going down south. So I'm trying to shorten it, spending time on the Tennessee River. They all fish somewhat similar from my experience so far, being on a handful of them. And I get to go to a couple different ones now, which will be fun. And I mean, dude, who couldn't love going to Chick at the end of April? Like, you got a chance at a 10-pounder.
Yeah. I just think all those lakes are lit because you could throw a jerk bait and it doesn't get bit off.
Dude, honestly, that's like the craziest part is you tie on like all these expensive baits and you're like, I'm going to get it back.
Yeah. Yeah. No pike down there.
Yeah, other than brush piles. I think I told you guys at Graham, I started fishing around brush piles, and all of a sudden I was down like $120 in A-rigs and jig heads and Kitex, and I'm like, what are we doing here? And the worst part is it's on like 20-pound fluoro. You know how hard it is to break that shit? Like, you're like trying to get it off the brush pile. I pulled up 2 brush piles, got my A-rig out
just
of them, but
cleating it off and just drive, dude.
Yeah, that's basically what I had to do. It was either that or just drive up close and cut the scissors, and you're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. Well, that should be fun, dude. At least you get to spend some time on a fishery when it's putting out,
Well, exactly. And like, low key, the other thing I'm super excited for is when I get back here April 28th, your boy's gonna be tan.
There's
because it is going to be so warm. Like, I'm looking at the forecast and it's like every day is 70 to 85. Nights are like mid 50s to mid 60s. And I'm like,
you're going to get so goddamn sunburnt, dude.
Oh, dude, I'm going to get roasted. So I'm just very excited for the warmth, and like, God, it's just been a long cold. Like, it hasn't been excessively cold. It's just been 6 months of 30 degrees. So I'm excited to go down there and like not have to put a jacket on.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
I think that'll be cool.
It'll feel so weird those first couple of days when you're just like rocking shorts and a t-shirt. You're like, what is this?
Yeah. And now all of a sudden your legs start feeling a little itchy and you're like, what?
And you're like, oh, the skin's falling off now. Sick.
Yeah, that was quick. Yeah, and I get to go to Chattanooga, which is I mean, low key probably my favorite city in the South.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love Chattanooga. That's where Chickamauga, well, it's in Dayton, but Chickamauga is part of, or Chattanooga hits Chickamauga. So
say that 3 times.
Yeah, I think it's a little tough. But super excited about that. Just, dude, excited to go bassing. I'm ready for it. Ready to just rig everything up. The crazy thing though is I was thinking about it and I was like, I think I literally am gonna have to rig all 30 of my rods because I have 2 back-to-back tournaments and I think they're both gonna be different.
Interesting. Well, that should be fun. I mean, be like
Mhm.
just sitting in the garage, just piddling away.
Well, dude, next week it's supposed to be 60, 70 outside. I'm gonna put her right in the front lawn and just sit out on that boat and rig
Oh,
all
there
my
you go.
rods.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it'll be great. But
Yep.
other than that, so current event wise, that's what we got going on. I think we're gonna dive into now a little bit of just what in the world is going on, a little bit of what in the world is going on in the world of, I mean, the outdoors, fishing, anything. So first one I wanted to bring up, and I think this is a great one because of how much Pink loves spring pike fishing.
Mhm.
Um, Angler catches Idaho state record northern pike. So
Yes. And
guy
this thing
caught
is
it.
an absolute toad.
Yeah, it is a giant. It is so thick too. It was caught out in Hayden Lake out in Idaho. It was a certified state record. Fish weighed 40.76. It was 49 in length, 26 and a half in girth.
Yeah, that's insane. And like, okay, let me just break this down. So there's only a handful of places in, I would say, the United States where you could legitimately catch a fish of this caliber. Um, Granted, I mean, I know that there's records that are like of this kind of length or whatever, but the picture, I mean, when you see this fish, the girth is insane. And yeah, 26.5 inches girth, which is just nuts. And I mean, 49 inches is a huge pike, and they do get pike like that in Canada, and you know, here and there you hear about one that big. Um, but to be able to catch one pre-spawn when it looks like this is mental. So, and Minnesota is one of the places where you could catch a fish like this, which is crazy. But Idaho, man, just insane. And it's a pretty one, nice dark green. Look this fish up if you are interested in looking at just an absolute hog, dude. I mean it's unreal
Well,
because
and Pink,
that's all egg weight, dude.
you are obsessed with spring pike fishing. I know how much you love it. How big was that freak? It was a silver, right? That you
Yeah,
got out of, I won't say where,
yeah.
that you got a couple springs ago.
So it was,
And what
yeah.
was the girth on that one? Because wasn't it somewhat similar?
So all of the measurements are what I would consider unofficial on that fish because I caught it out of a kayak. I mean, this is on the river. It was just like I had a soft tape with, so we kind of did what we could do. Um, I realistically, I think the fish on like a bump board would have went probably about 44 inches. Um, and girth was somewhere in the 24-inch range. I mean, we taped it a little bigger than that, but I don't think it was quite that fat. And I've talked to several other people that kind of target these fish at this time of year because there's people that go to Canada and they catch big pike, but they do not look like these fish. I mean, these are river bred. I mean, they're pre-spawn, full of shad, full of eggs. It's nuts. Like they just don't even look real. But yeah, so I would say 44 by about 24 ish. Insane thick fish. The pictures are unreal. Biggest pike I've ever laid eyes on in real life.
What's it like getting pulled around in a kayak by one of those things?
Dude, adrenaline max because it was like I would say that not being like cocky or anything, but it's like we've caught a lot of 40-inch class pike out of that particular place, out of kayaks. Okay. And you know when you hook one. Okay. That's the cool thing. So, and the fights are fairly long just because, I mean, you're not like in a boat where you can just bring them to you. So it's like they drag you around a bit. You kind of reel yourself to the fish. It's very weird. Okay. The overall thing. And it's very shallow water. So when the fish run, they don't run down, they run away from you. Um, and in that cold water, they're a little sluggish because a lot of the water temps are, you know, in the 40s yet. And they get really pissed off when you get them close to the kayak, right? So then they run underneath the boat and there's a lot of panic mode at the last minute kind of thing. And you know, not having a net or whatever, that's just kind of on me, but I've just always like handled them at the side of the boat. So handling a fish like that with no net was pretty intense. Yeah, a lot. It was just nuts, man. And you get them up next to the boat. And the cool thing is, normally you get them up, you net them, that kind of thing in a boat. Well, in a kayak, you get them 5-10 feet from the boat and the fight is not over, but I'm just like looking at this fish in the water and I'm like, Christ, that thing is big, and finally getting your hands on it. Once you grab that gill plate and you got them and you're like, oh, we did it, dude. And release that fish back. And it was, it was kind of a weird color phase one. It wasn't what I would, like a silver pike is like an actual, like, I don't know if it's
Genetics.
a sub.
I don't know. It might be a species. It might not.
I don't know that it's technically a subspecies, but it's like a weird color phase where they don't have any stripes or anything. They're just kind of this like clear background on a pike. This one was not that, but it was purple and very light colored. So very unique. I've never seen one colored that way. So I'm glad we got a ton of pictures of it. The unbelievable head on this thing. It was, I couldn't even span my hand across the back of its dome, which was crazy.
If people scroll back far enough on Pink's Instagram, you will see pictures of it getting pulled up by the kayak. It's screenshots from a GoPro, and it is mortifyingly large.
It's so big. And like, I was so hyped, but it was a really cool moment because that was like kind of the fish that I was chasing, like I went there for this type of caliber thing, finally got it done. At that time, this was a couple years back, but at that time we were chasing, we wanted to get the catch and release state record, which at that time, 45 and a quarter, I think was it. So, and I think that one was pretty much a 44. I know they live there. It's just haven't connected yet, but super cool to catch them pre-spawn. And that's definitely what this fish that this one in Idaho was caught, was pre-spawn. And it's interesting there because like they got no ice. Like this guy's out in a boat, whereas like here we're accessing places that open before the ice melts off fully.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
Kind of a different game, but like I said, there's not a lot of places in the United States where you can catch a fish like this. And Minnesota is one of those places, but Idaho is apparently pretty lit. And I will say, I do not know this guy. I've messaged him a couple of times, just throwing this out there because this is relevant to this article. But there is
Oh no, his mic just cut out. He will be back shortly. I was getting choppy there for a little bit. But yeah, if people don't know, Idaho is pretty lit. It's definitely somewhere to look into for various types of fishing. The West in general is lit.
Yeah. And so anyway, I'll just get this out quick. But this guy, he runs an Instagram page that is called Trailer Pike Boys.
And I love this man. He looks, if you see the picture of him too, you'll be like, yeah, he runs Trailer Pike Boys.
Yeah. So whatever. Like I said, don't know this guy, no affiliation. I've messaged him a couple of times on Instagram just because he's another dude that loves to chase big pike, lives in Montana, and they smash, dude. And it's sick. Like if you like big pike, this guy is like a good guy to follow. They do a ton of pike fishing out there. They catch some giants, in this upper 40 caliber.
Oh, we just lost Pink again. He will be back shortly. It's been progressively all of a sudden gotten worse, but we will see if all of a sudden he can come back with a full force. Here, Pink, how about maybe you just leave the live stream quick and then come back in? I'll let you in.
Right. Yeah, but we're dealing with some hardware issues here. This goes deeper than the Wi-Fi situation.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna start introducing the next article, so Pink will be able to jump right in. He knows it already.
I'll be back in a sec.
So the next article is angler catches one of the biggest crappies Georgia has seen in 20 years. So if you look this one up, it's on Wired to Fish. Avid crappie angler James King of Georgia caught crappie. It weighed 3 pounds 11 ounces, 3.74 pounds. They classified it as a black crappie. If you guys have been following the Crappie Chronicles for a while, we talk about hybrids. If you look at this fish, I would be intrigued to hear what Pink has to say now that he's back, but I'm very sure this is a hybrid. And yeah, their state record's 4 pound 4 ounces. So everyone talks about how down south has them bigger. Minnesota's state record's over 5 pounds. Some people don't believe it. I totally do, based off of what we've seen with various fish. But yeah, just seeing a crappie that big, like that's kind of one, you know, we've been chasing to put on film. Fish was, they don't even have a length on it. They just got a weight, which kind of upsets me. I wish they had a length.
Yeah, I agree, because it'd be nice to know kind of that length girth measurement on it as well. I mean, for people that really care about this type of stuff, those are the type of measurements that are actually really important.
Yeah.
Just because it's like there are fish that look really big, and I'm sure they weighed this, so 374 giant. But I'd like to know the length, because like we talk about them here, you know, even lakes we go to, they're built different in
Yeah.
different places. So, you know, I'd like to know, like, is that a 19-inch fish? You know, is it 18? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Cause like that's a crazy thing. Thinking of the one that I filmed Griff catch a couple of years ago, like that was for sure a 3-pound crappie.
Oh,
Like
no doubt.
we
No doubt.
didn't have a scale with that day. He totally agrees. Pinched, it would have hit around 17 and it had a stub tail. So, but just laying there flat, it was like 16 and a half, 16 and 3/4, whatever it was. But, just looking at that and us saying like we want to catch an 18-incher, hopefully be around 4 pounds, like that's kind of what we're looking for. And you think that's a hybrid too, right? I think it looks like a hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody just showed me this without telling me it was a black, I would 100% say hybrid. I mean, it even has the gill plate dot. On
Yeah,
the
and it
corner.
has some bars down by the tail too.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know how deep they go on this. Like, you know, I know if this fish was caught in Minnesota, they would probably do genetic testing on it to verify, you know, if it was a hybrid or not.
Yeah,
but like some states, they don't care, or they don't recognize a hybrid as being a separate thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and to me, looks like a hybrid, but I thought it was cool to see it showed up. Actually, one of our listeners, the Up North Bassing guys, they're always first up at our meetups and stuff. Always enjoy chatting with those boys. But one of them shot me a message with that, and he was like, "You guys should go fish here." I was like, "Yeah, we probably should." But yeah, so that's a freak big hybrid. Hopefully, we can get one in Minnesota eventually. But they ain't easy to run into. One of the biggest crappies in the last 20 years in Georgia. So just giving a scale also to people, if we get one on film, what that will mean.
Yeah, no kidding. But to be honest, like I know you just mentioned it before, and a lot of people knock. I mean, old records, right? And I know that they're talking about this fall erasing a bunch of those old ones.
Dude, if they release that record this summer or erase it, which I think they're talking about, and we get to film a season 4, like if we film a season 4 or anything on, like, and get the chance to set that record,
that would be crazy.
That would be a new adrenaline rush to the whole series.
It would. And you know, the only thing with that one is, like, I know that there's a lot of speculation about these old records, and there are some, like the Northern Pike one and stuff, that are probably very fake, but we don't know for sure. But I would say that crappie one is the one that I would actually say is legit.
Yeah, I would believe it.
Even though it's astronomically big, based on where it came from and what we know about that place, I would say 100% is legit.
Yeah, and also because I have heard of 20-inch fish out of another place.
Yeah.
And
they live here, man. Like,
yeah, they're around. Don't let anybody who's like, "Oh, that's crazy." No, they're around. You run into the right local, they'll show you pictures on their wall.
Yeah. And well, in places like here, like Georgia, right? I mean, long growing season. This fish probably not super old, even though it seems like it should be. Up here, a fish like that, really old. Short growing season, cold water.
I do think it's kind of something we talk about with the Chronicles, though, that I find interesting. And one of the reasons I brought this Georgia article up is everyone talks about down south having bigger and everything. Like, that's one of the biggest ones caught in the last 20 years. Like, I've seen, I don't know, 7-10 pictures of 18s this year in Minnesota this winter.
Yeah.
And I don't know the length on this fish, but those 18s are all of 3 1/4 to 3.5 pounds.
Yes, fully agreed. And I bet this fish is longer. I just don't think it's as built. I mean, it's a big fish. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, I agree.
I would guess that that's probably like a 19-inch class crappie. And if you caught that here, it'd definitely be 4.
Yes. Yep, for sure. There's this area around the Twin Cities grows them different, man. That's one reason I thought I'd bring that up. But
Yeah.
Also kind of what in the world is going on. Another thing, not related to fishing at all, but for people who don't know, I'm a big golf fan. I was actually I was a varsity golfer from 7th grade, JV varsity golfer from 7th grade until sophomore year of high school. Then I quit to go fishing more because I'd either have to play 18 holes every day in the spring or I could go fishing and then play 18 holes when I wanted to. So ended up fishing more. Not as good anymore.
Bart's like, would have went pro, but
no, not even. But not as good anymore. I can still shoot in the 80s pretty frequently.
But you still swing the club now and then, though.
Yeah, I mean, my goal this summer actually is to play about a dozen times. Our buddy Cody Krug started up a little golf league. So anyone who likes golf, who's maybe interested in a golf league, hit up Krug. It's like an online deal with an app that I'm going to be into where he has a course picked. You have 2 weeks to play the course, and then your score gets submitted. They calculate handicap throughout the season and everything, and by the end of the year, we'll have it figured out. But
wow, that sounds pretty dialed, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. I'm actually excited for it because he has like a very organized schedule, and then like you have 2 weeks to play this course. And like for me, it's like, okay, I just need to, shovel out 4 to 5 hours one day to go do this. I've said for a few years, ever since I started working for myself, I just haven't golfed as much, and I do love golfing. But with that and with golfing, it's Masters Week. And even if you're not a huge golf fan, I think for me anyways, like Masters Week signifies spring. Like it is spring, it is here, and there's nothing better than all of a sudden the Jim Nantz Masters commercials coming on CBS on TV. Like I love it. I love Masters Week.
Dude, I think golf is like interesting because it's probably the sport that's closest to like competitive fishing, right? Like I would say across the board, just like how it's an individual sport. I mean, granted, there are like team events, right? But like of the pro level competitive sports, it is definitely the closest. Wouldn't you agree?
All by yourself, a lot of mental. Like all those guys who play professionally are very close to each other talent-wise, which is very similar with fishing. Like a lot of guys are on the same level in terms of skill. Like I've heard the comparison of like in the Elite Series, you go down a dock line and you think you're a better dock fisherman. Like everybody skipped it in front of you and they're just as good. There might be a little bit of a variance, but there ain't much.
And it's also
the biggest thing it comes down to is mentality.
And it's that same kind of thing where it's like everybody's good. Like you don't get to that level without being good, but you also have that whole aspect of like, dude, when it's your day, it's your day.
Yeah.
For
sure. When you're on fire, you're on fire.
That, but it is a thing.
Absolutely. So with Masters Week, I thought something that would be cool to bring up in here is an article that came out. If you don't watch the Masters, a thing that happens with the Masters is there's a champions dinner every week before the event. So all previous champions get invited to it, and the previous champion from last year, so that's Scotty Scheffler, they pick a dinner that everybody will have, and they make it for everybody to have. So what I wanted to post to Pink, and I'll chime in with some of my stuff, but Pink's the food guy here, so I gotta ask him on this. But his Masters Club dinner is cheeseburger sliders served Scotty style. I wish I knew exactly what that meant. Firecracker shrimp with sweet Thai chili and sriracha mayo.
Okay.
Then next, the soup is avocado, crispy blue tortilla strips, sour cream, cilantro, and lime. And then we've got Texas ribeye steak or blackened redfish as the main dishes. Family style mac and cheese, jalapeno creamed corn, fried Brussels sprouts, and seasoned fries for the side.
These boys are gonna shit their pants, dude.
Yeah, all of a sudden you see mac and cheese and cream corn, and you're like, oh boy. And then for dessert, we got warm chocolate chip skillet cookie. What's a skillet cookie?
So to my knowledge, that would be like those like cast iron cooked like chocolate chip cookies.
Okay.
That
I
would be
guess.
what that's what I know that as. But
Yep, milk and cookies, ice cream as well. But that is what his dinner menu is. So I think what would be important to run through here, Pink, you
yep,
say one day you decide you're a god at golf. You
yep,
go win the Masters somehow.
no doubt.
Masters Club dinner. What are your 2 appetizers you're throwing out there? His are cheeseburger sliders and firecracker shrimp. What do you got?
So, I mean, this one's tough because like most of the stuff that I would say would not be like food you would serve at something like this because
No, you got to do it because they'll pick anything and they
right.
make it
But here's
happen.
what I'm saying, dude. Like, if you're in an event like this and you're the man, like I won, bro. Like I'm picking the dinner. Like this shit's about to be bougie. Okay. Especially because I don't have to make it. I just have to be like, give me that. Right.
Yeah.
So we'd probably be going, I'd be looking like some kind of high roller apps and then maybe like chill out a little bit on like the main thing. Cause I want people to know right off the bat. And I'll be like, yeah, I could have went ham here, but I didn't. I laid off.
All right.
So,
All right. So what are your high hitting apps? You need 2 of them.
so I think I would do like a Wagyu beef steak bites.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. Okay. So like,
Do you have any like horseradish sauce or something with that, or are they just as steak bites?
I mean, I think I would just roll straight up. I mean, maybe there's like an option, right? Like, hey, you want that horseradish pop, sick. But I think that's just one that would hit, right? And you're just leading in, you're sucking everybody in like, oh, what's coming next, right? So, and Wagyu, I mean, like, bro, like we're doing it up. Let's go. So definitely that. And then probably hit them with a crowd pleaser, right? Like be coming in with like a crab rangoon.
Okay.
And I'm talking like heavy on the crab. Let's go. Like we're at the Masters, dude.
Yeah.
Give it
I
to
feel
me.
that. See,
Done.
it's hilarious how different our minds are because you went crowd pleaser and immediately my brain went buffalo wings.
Yeah. No.
Oh, his mic cut out. Okay. He'll be back here to talk food in a second. Yeah. Pink's picks for the appetizers are way better than mine would be. I'd probably have something up there like I mean, it's probably what I just get regularly, like some Wisconsin cheese curds and some buffalo wings. I ain't nothing special here. I'm just an upper Midwest boy getting some fried food at a bar.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. That's what I would pick. That would be the apps.
That's good. All right. So then you need a soup or salad. That's technically what they do next.
Okay. And this is a weird area for me because I fucking do not like soup.
Yeah, you made the clam chowder last year for everybody, but you do not enjoy it.
No, and it's not even that it's like bad. I just don't like. I think there's just way better things to eat, right?
I agree.
Just like some hot ass water with some meat in it and whatever.
Oh, his mic cut out. But in terms of soup, like about the only thing soup wise that I would really pick. And I don't know, is this technically a soup? I love chili. Like if there's a good chili, but like having chili in April when it's 70 degrees out at the Masters sounds awful.
Yeah, right on. And I think, yeah, there are a lot of soups that are just straight up like winter soups, right? Like all these really heavy, like cream based soups and stuff, which is not like.
I will say white chicken chili I would probably pick.
Yeah, that's decent. I can see that.
If I had to do soup, but more than likely I would just do like a classic Caesar salad or like a house garden salad with ranch. Just keep the people happy, simple.
I mean, yeah, I would look at this category as like, we just hit apps. Now we're going to do soup and salad. It's like, I mean, nobody cares. Nobody remembers the soup and salad, right? This is just like the bridge between the apps and like what's coming next. So probably something on the lighter side. Where do we go? Maybe like a wild rice situation, maybe like a chicken wild rice.
I think wild rice would be a good option.
I think that would hit, not too filling because you got the main event coming still.
Yep, yeah, for sure. So then so we're going main event now. He had Texas ribeye steak or blackened red fish. Typically they'll have like a red meat or like a chicken or something like that, and then obviously like a fish. What are you doing there?
Ooh, that's
Because
tough.
you already had the Wagyu leading off. So now, what are you coming back?
Oh, we're coming back, baby. So we hit with the Wagyu off the front end. Leave you wanting a little more here, and I'll start with the lighter side. So this is where I feel I can jump in, because it's like, yeah, you did some things well there. I mean, I like his picks. The black and red fish is an A1 right there. But I think I would, dude, I'd be coming at him with like one of my own recipes here, dude. I'd be
Do
like,
you post some frozen kitchen on their ass?
I would drop some frozen kitchen right here, $27.99, and I'd be like, I think I'd have to throw the fish pizza at him, dude.
The fish pizza would be a
Straight
baller pick.
I mean, I'm talking, and we could get some like bougie fish too. Like, let's talk some like red snapper Italian sausage on this white sauce. Ooh,
Banana peppers, some red onion.
We could get a real Italian boy to make the crust, make it, real legit.
You don't want to use just the like $2 Mission flour tortillas from Walmart?
We could, but Luca is on his way. Like, he was gonna come do it. Like, I mean, this is the Masters, bro.
Yeah, fair. Okay, so you're going fish pizza. I like that.
Yeah, we'll do a red snapper Italian sausage pizza.
And I will say, for people who have not gotten the frozen kitchen or tried the fish pizza, it is fucking incredible. So even if you pick a different meat to put on it than fish, it slaps, and it's so easy.
It's a baller way to make pizza. Straight up.
Yep. So then you got the pizza. Is that your fish then? So you're going fish on that side?
That's my fish option.
So then you going like chicken, you going steak, you going elk, you going bear, you doing something wild?
We're going wild, and we're rolling red ass meat. So this is an interesting one. So we're doing a slow roasted bison loin.
Okay.
This is a nice lean cut of meat, but when it's cooked properly, succulent. Okay. So think of like a prime rib.
Okay, I'm following.
Okay. So we're doing a slow roasted bison loin served with everything else. Accoutrement.
I don't know what you said or what that means.
It's fancy.
I am not fancy.
No, I think that's what I would go with, because I think that's the whole point of like that Masters thing, is they want people to put their spin on it, right? So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know where this dude's from, but I'm assuming a lot of those things are like dishes that they serve there. Okay, yeah. So,
I believe he's Texas, but it seems like a Texas menu to me.
Yeah, I don't know. That's where I'd go. I think that'd be cool. Like, and you're serving this to like a pretty high end bougie crowd. Like, these are probably like the A-list golf people in the world. So,
well, then you got to pick the sides to it. So he's got, so we'll go with the first two. So he's got family style mac and cheese and jalapeno creamed corn. What are you bringing for sides?
Okay. This is an interesting. Yeah.
I really like the mac and cheese pick, honestly, because that just slaps.
Yeah, I just feel like that's just heavy AF, bro. But yeah,
it is. It's very heavy.
I would do like a pesto pasta salad.
Ooh, I like that. That's good.
Bring that in. To kind of roll with that like kind of Italian side of what was going on. And then and what was his other one? So you had mac and cheese and something else?
Jalapeno creamed corn.
Okay.
So that's some like type of veggie-ish here.
Interesting. Yeah,
he's got jalapeno cream corn and fried
menu,
Brussels
dude.
sprouts.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Are
you a Brussels sprouts guy or not really?
I actually am, dude. And I don't know how that occurred, because I know I didn't like them before, but now I'm just like, dude, load it up.
I am not a huge Brussels sprouts guy.
Yeah.
Unless they're cooked in a ton of bacon grease, which we've talked about before.
But
like anything in bacon grease will be good.
Yeah. I think I'd probably have to go with like some sort of a potato thing. So maybe like so you got this like pesto pasta salad, and then maybe like a steakhouse potato salad.
Ooh, there you go. We're going. I like it. Salads, dude. That's my favorite part of summer, where all of a sudden you roll up to just a picnic or like some cookout thing, and there's like
dude.
a potato salad. Yeah, you get what I'm saying with that. Like,
yeah, just buckets, dude.
Everybody, that's what every aunt brought was some type of salad, and you just got scoops of different salads on your plate.
Yeah, it's actually kind of really good. But
and then his last thing for the side was seasoned fries. Nice and simple.
Ooh, seasoned fry. I might be in that same vein, but I would fucking go waffle fries all day.
Yeah, I agree. Waffle fries
seasoned
or sweet
sour cream.
I've really liked sweet potato fries lately for some reason. But
yeah, dude, I hit those with ranch pretty hard.
Oof. Sorry for anyone who might be listening to this hungry. But then, so we got our last part. You got to bring it home with dessert, Pink. What are you bringing for dessert?
Oh, okay. What did he pick? What was his pick?
He had the warm chocolate chip skillet cookie.
Oh, the skillet cookie. Right. Okay. Yeah, I would say I would do something maybe a little different. I think I'm more of like a molten brownie situation.
Yeah, that's
like
good.
like a little lava cake brownie thing.
Okay.
That's where I'd go.
I like that. I'm just personally like, dude, any dessert, give me cheesecake. I don't care what toppings are on it. Give me cheesecake. I just love cheesecake.
Yeah, that hits, you know.
But it'd be a little thick, but I'll take it. You're doing
well, yeah, but you just pounded
brownies,
mac and cheese and fucking like what's some cheesecake, eh?
Yeah, exactly. We ain't worrying. But yeah,
and they're eating all that before they play a round of golf, huh?
Yeah, I think this dinner happens though on Tuesday before I think it's right before they have the par 3 contest tomorrow. Okay. So like
I'm just saying, if I eat that, I am blown out the next day, dude.
Yeah, I'm having issues. But no, that sounds awesome. I would rather, I don't know. Both of those menus are fantastic. Either one I would love to sit at. I'd probably take Pink's. But
I kind of feel like this type of event would just be like insane to be a part of, right? Like this evening of whatever this is. What do they call it? The Masters
dinner of champions.
Dinner of champions. So like, yeah, I think it would probably be unbelievable. I'm sure they do it up big.
Yeah, it would be sick. But anyways, so we'll get away from the Masters and, well, not necessarily golf talk. I think we're gonna end this one with Pink. You got a little golf story. Well, you're not a golfer, but like you got a little something, right?
Okay. I'm not a golfer. I have golfed. I would say I'm a pretty avid mini golf player. But yeah, I think
your only golfing experience was we had a birthday.
Well, okay, so
it would have been 2 years ago. I had a birthday that was a triathlon, which if people don't know, you don't run a triathlon. It was a drinking triathlon. So we played golf, beanbags, and
bocce.
We barely even made it to bocce ball.
But we played it, and we played it in, I think, the rain or some shit because we had to have a winner.
Yes, and you and Bo were up on top, and someone had to compete against you guys. But yes, that's how it finished. But to start that off, we did go golfing. You had never golfed, and you were with Bo Brower, and you guys won.
And and Bo is actually a super good golfer, like really good. And I didn't really know that. I mean, I know you paired me with him because you were like, wow, you suck, and he doesn't. So that should be a good pair. Yeah, because I think I went to like a driving range before once, pretty hammered, and that was like my full golf experience. And so, yeah, we just went to this one and played like a legit round, which I was like, what the fuck is this? Which, yeah, was pretty brutal, to be honest. Like, I am actually really bad at golf. So, but like I said, I would say average to above average putter.
Yeah, you made one of your guys' birdie putts that ended up winning it for you guys, didn't you?
So, yes, but I would say, I mean, obviously Bo was like unreal. This dude just like smack this ball wherever he wanted to, right? I think out of the entire, because we were playing like a best ball kind of thing, right?
Yeah, we were playing a scramble. So each person hits, you go to whatever the best shot is. But then when we got to the green, we did alternating putts. So it couldn't just be Bo putting everything.
Right. But he always hit the approach shot. So I always putted. But like, I think out of the entire round, other than putting, we used one shot from mine, and that was because he hit one like so good that he hit it like into a fucking neighborhood across the street or something. And like mine actually was like in the field of play, so we played that one. But out of the entire round, we used one of my shots that wasn't a putt. So anyway, hell of a learning experience, I'll tell you that. But I would like to go again because I feel like I have a lot of room to grow. So anyway, whatever. I got to try that. I don't even know that I was shooting the right fucking handedness or whatever. So, but anyway, so yeah, I'm not good at golf. We went there. It was super fun. We had a lot of high noons, made some putts, called her did. But I did have the opportunity. This is where we're going with this story. Not to tell you how bad at golf I am. We all know that.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is a couple years ago. When did they have, so the Ryder Cup, explain to people what that is. Cause I mean, I was there and I really don't even know. It's like
the Ryder Cup happens
USA versus everybody, right?
Yeah. I think it's every 4 years.
Okay.
I maybe have to double check. It might be every 2.
Right.
No, it is every 2. It just alternates between the United States and England, I think. Let me look this up.
Okay. He'll look that up. But essentially, this is like a super big golf tournament. I was not in the know on this, but this was I was like between jobs. So
yeah,
like,
it's every 2 years. It just alternates between England and America. So it's every 4 years in America.
Okay, so this probably would have been 2016-ish, 2017, somewhere in
whenever
there.
They were at Hazeltine. I could look that up.
Yeah, so it was in Hazeltine and basically like Chaska, right?
It was 2016.
2016. Okay, so yeah. So I was looking for a job, whatever. And this was like very early on. Like I had in college, I did like one cooking job that really sucked pretty bad. But anyway, this was like the only other legit like cooking job I ever had. So they were hiring people to cook. They have like all these events as part of the Ryder Cup. So pretty high profile, like parties and stuff, corporate events, that kind of thing, like leading up to the event. So they're hiring all these people to cook for that. And I don't even remember how I got the that was like a thing. Like somebody sent it to me like, hey, check this out.
His mic just cut out. So Pink ended up getting a job, at Hazeltine for the Ryder Cup, which is crazy, considering how prestigious of an event that is. And to even get in there is insanely difficult.
Yeah. So not only did I get like the couple days leading up to the event, like we had passes to go every single day to get in there. And like I said, I knew nothing about golf. So I was just like, whatever. And, there was like a lot of people there that were probably very famous golf people that I was just like, excuse me. Like,
yeah. Pardon me. I need to go to the kitchen.
But it was sick because we kind of had these like VIP event pass things. So you just like show up in the morning and it was just like you get there mega early. So it was like all these people that were just working there doing like whatever concession stuff or food or whatever. So I got hired by essentially like the catering company that was doing the full.
His mic just cut out again. Of course, at the moment we need to do this. Maybe Pink will I'll buy time. Just want to leave and come back in real quick and I'll buy some time. This is a good reminder for everybody. We will get into the story and we have plenty more stories coming over the course of this podcast. But if you greatly enjoy it, please leave us a review. Rate and subscribe. We appreciate all of you a ton. Anyways, Pink is back. Hopefully the mic doesn't cut out.
We'll try to burn through this. But yeah, so I get hired by this catering company, right? And so they build like crazy. These like they call them like prep kitchens, right? They're like where buildings like don't exist because they were building like crazy stuff for this event, right? Like they're building walkways, huge buildings, like banners for advertisements, that kind of thing. So this place looks totally different now than it did when they had this event. But they built these like ginormous like tent buildings that they were all like these kitchens, right? So, and then they bring in like all these chefs from all over the country that are like insane. Like they work at big restaurants in like New York and places in, Chicago, places in LA, that kind of thing. They fly in from all over and they're like the top dogs. So it's like they're running the show. And then there's all these people that they hired to cook or do whatever. So there's people that were just like hired to be like dishwashers and stuff. They hired me to be a prep cook. So like I show up and basically just like do what they tell me to do. Right. So it was like a lot of it was before the event was prepping like insane amount of food for like big parties and stuff. So like, you know, I'll say like Rolex and stuff like that. They have like these corporate events. So they're like, okay, they have 100 people coming to this event on, you know, the day before the thing. So here's the menu. And then like, there's all these chefs. It's like, this guy's doing like the main thing. This guy's doing all the sides. This guy's making the salads, like whatever. So then you're working with these chefs to like, make all this cool stuff. So you're working, and it's sick because like a lot of the food is like high end shit. Like we're making some dope food here. Right. So that's like the first couple days of it. So I had fun doing that. And then after
what were you
that,
making? What were you in charge of prep station wise?
dude, it was different all the time. Like you'd be doing something for a couple hours and then they'd pull you off and you do something else. So some of it was like, oh, we're just chopping vegetables for like this particular dish. Or like, okay, we have to slice like 30 pounds of fucking onions for all the salads that they're going to make.
You're just crying for 3 hours.
Yeah, just stuff like that. And but the crazy part is there were like people that sucked at a lot of this stuff, right? And like I had some like pretty solid skills at that point. Like I wasn't like super polished or anything, but like I knew what I was doing, right? And but also it's like they tell you what to do. So it's just like you just do that.
Yeah.
So and then so once the event rolls around, right? So we're doing like all these corporate parties ahead of time, right? And we're making some cool stuff. Like I remember the one day I'm working with this one chef and he was like from someplace in LA and he was like some big shot. He had these like signature meatballs that he'd make or whatever, right? So we made like 200 pounds of these meatballs, like stuff like that. Like it was just huge quantities of stuff. And then I didn't realize this was like a thing, but then I'll say like day 3, day 4 of this, they start breaking up into these like satellite kitchens. Okay. So now you're going to like these smaller kitchens that are more like, I'll say like 20 by 20 size things that are like next to where people are going to watch the events. Right. So I got to go to the one because like I got to know some of these chefs, right? And they're like, hey, we like you because you do what you know, you seem to know what you're doing and like you do what we tell you to do. So it's like they kind of picked their team, right? They're like, hey, I want you to work for me for this thing. So then we go to these satellite kitchens. So it's like me and like 3 other people and then like the head chef for that area. And we had the captain's club is like where I was, right?
Oh, no shit. Really?
Yeah. So we're on like, I want to say it's like, I don't know if it's hole 1, right on the green is where our kitchen is.
Okay.
So it was like, I believe hole 1. It was, yeah, one of the first couple ones, but it was right. I mean, like, I'm talking like the green is like right there.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't give a shit. Like, I didn't know what was going on, but it was cool because that day that we were doing it, they had like they have like a celebrity day or something. So like, you know, there's like Bill Murray, like golfing, like right there and shit. And so we're making food for like the captain's club and the parties or whatever. So there's like a bunch of high rollers in there. Right. And now we're making like some cool food. Like they had trucked in like all this like red lake walleye and like stuff like that. And we were making like insane quantities of that. And like, you know, I think they did like a bunch of like coconut shrimp. They did some cool, like smoked salmon stuff, whatever. So it's like, you're making a lot of cool food now. But the crazy part was, so the other people that worked there were all people that worked, so it was like the head chef and the guy that was the head chef there. He was the guy that runs the barbecue thing at the I'm not a NASCAR guy, but what's like the biggest thing other than the
500?
Other than that one?
Talladega?
That one. He's like the barbecue guy there.
Okay.
Like runs the whole thing.
Okay.
So he's like big, like dude has like pig tattoos on his arms of like cuts of meat. Like
That's
this guy's
unreal.
like unreal. And you know, he's got all the stories that were cool. Cause like this guy, he did, this was right after the Rio Olympics.
Oh, okay.
And he was there in Rio for the full Olympics and for the Paralympics, like after that. And like, dude, insane stories. Like the dude was like living in the, you know, some like Airbnb in the mountains in Rio with like all these other chefs and stuff. And they were just like not in the Olympic Village at all, dude. They're like riding in the back of a van to like get down. Like it sounded sketch as hell, but they had some cool stories about like traveling around the world, like doing this catering stuff. So sick working with them. But the cool thing was all these other people that were working in there other than me were all chefs like downtown, like in Minneapolis and St. Paul, like these really high-end restaurants. And so I was like the only like scrub in there, right?
Yeah, you're like, I'm Ryan. I just graduated from college.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was fun, like making a lot of that food and stuff. But then, dude, the crazy part is, so like the way these catering places were on is like all the food that is like, I'll say like owned by the golf event, right?
Yeah.
So like we would make like, I don't know, like 100 portions of like some particular dish, right? And you know, we had like servers that would come and we'd like be like, okay, you know, here's all the stuff that's done, and they would pick up stuff. And a lot of it was like buffet style, so it was like big pans of stuff.
Yep.
And like you know, not all of it gets eaten or whatever, right? And they just fucking throw it in the garbage. Like I'm talking
Unreal.
like hundreds of pounds of like high end shit. And because they're like, yeah, we can't keep it, or like we can't do anything with it. So they're like, yeah, if you can like eat whatever you want, because like, I mean, we're all just gonna throw it away, right? And like you couldn't take anything, like no one there could like take anything out of the event, right? So like you couldn't just be like, oh, I'll just take all this stuff home. Like couldn't do that, right? So all the other, like me and like all the other people working in this kitchen, like, dude, we are like fucking packing everything. We're like everything you can fit in like your jacket and shit. We're like, we're stealing every day. So for like, because I think that job lasted like it was like a couple weeks, I'll say, that I was doing that. And like, dude, that whole time I'm like bringing, like, I got, dude, like like 5 pounds of coconut shrimp, boom, like that. And like,
in
you know,
the freezer.
Yeah, and like we're doing all this stuff with like you know, and it was like local stuff. So they go to like, they'd get like all these brats from like Wisconsin somewhere, and they're all these like little ones. We're like, okay, 5 pounds of that in the jacket, like let's go. Like all this stuff and like steaks and, oh dude, so insane. So it was funny because then so the way that it worked, like for the first couple days you drive to Hazeltine, but then once the event started, they didn't want people parking there because like they had like, you know, like high rollers parking everywhere.
Yeah.
So then they had, you know, where like Valley Fair is.
Yeah.
So that's where they had us. And then you'd get on a bus and they drive you to the golf course every morning.
Yeah.
Like,
for people don't know, that's probably a 20-minute ride.
Yeah, maybe about that. Yeah. From Shakopee to
yeah, 15,
yeah.
20-minute drive. It ain't close.
Right. So they bus everyone that's working from Valley Fair out to the golf course at like 5 a.m. every day. Like this was like insane hours. But like, so you'd go to like, it was like 5 a.m. till like 8 o'clock at night every day for a couple weeks. But the people, like the chefs that were there, they were like, I don't even know when the hell they would leave, because they were there before we got there and they stayed way after. And like, this was my first experience with these people that do all this catering, and they do a shit ton of drugs. Like everyone there was doing like serious cocaine and shit like all the time. And whatever. And you know, like everything you see on these cooking shows where people are like blowing up and like getting nuts, like this is what's going down here, dude. Like all the like behind the scenes drama, right, was just awesome. Like it was super good experience, dude. Like people like banging this dude's girlfriend and he's like the head fucking guy and like all this stuff, dude. Like awesome. And so this one I was in, like I said, the guy was super cool that was running, and he had a lot of good stories, and like he was an awesome chef too, so I like learned a lot working with him. But yeah, we got to make some cool food. And like for some of these, like I know we had like a lot of the like the pros before the event, like in our area that we were like serving food to. So I mean, like I didn't like go out there and like talk to anybody, but we got to like make food for a lot of like big names and like golf and stuff, which was cool. And that was like a pretty fun event to be at. And I got to go to the whole thing, which was cool. I mean, I didn't really care about golf or anything, but it was cool to like be there and be at like a big event like that.
Yeah,
but,
no, that's an unreal experience. Yeah, and up until like now, I never even knew that happened.
Yeah,
I've known you a while. That's never been brought up.
Yeah, dude. And I did steal one of my favorite recipes that I make was something that I stole from that event.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
So it's these like garlic. It's basically a garlic teriyaki meat skewer thing.
Okay.
And I make them all the time. I make them for almost every event that I get invited to bring food to. And they are awesome. And I made them there with some guys that worked, I don't know what restaurant they worked at. Revival, I think, somewhere downtown. And these guys were awesome. It was like these guys, and they definitely were not related, but they acted like they were. And yeah, it was funny. So it was the initial like group I was in. It was me, one other guy like my age, and then these two black dudes that worked at, I think, Revival. And one guy was like a dishwasher there, and the other guy was like a chef. But like, I think they were putting on this whole thing, like, I don't know, they were just having fun with us or whatever. And he kept being just like, just don't say anything, and like, we'll get like a good job. And I'm just like, okay, I just like kind of let him. And he, like, one of these guys that was just like, he could make anybody do whatever he wanted kind of thing. Like, he just had that personality, right?
Yeah.
And so we went from being like, and this is, I would say, day one. We go from being the absolute scrubs in this kitchen to being like the guys that they set up in this like outdoor grilling station to like make all this like awesome shit. And we
for
just
everybody.
Yeah. And we just screwed off outside and hung out, and it was super fun. So those guys like were definitely legit. And yeah, we made like probably 100 pounds of those skewers, and I ate like a ton of them while we were cooking them. I was like, God, these slap. So I was just like, I can make that. So I make them all the time now.
That's unreal. That's unreal. You have any of those contacts, by the way, anymore? We need to do like a Chronicles collab downtown Minneapolis or something.
Dude, I think, and at one time, I still have it. I have so they gave, like, they had like the like magazine like whatever they give people when you show up, right? I have that and a can of beer from that event sitting on my shelf back here.
That's super cool. that is an awesome story.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But anyway, it was I don't know if that'll ever happen again. I probably won't ever cook at one of those events again, but I'm pretty glad I did. Like, it was pretty cool experience, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I mean, we rocked it out. 2 people, hour-and-a-half long podcast. Here we go. I guess we had plenty to talk about. We got her done. So thank you, everybody, for tuning into another episode of Past The Barb. We appreciate you all a ton, and we will see you on the next one.